Howdy, it's good to have you here today. We are going to jump into this rather quickly. It's a video by Waffles titled The 3 Tiers of Men. Which are you? So this is a channel, Waffles. I'm not quite familiar with them. I've given the video a like ahead of time. I'm just skimming through some of the comments. So the top comment reads, "My worst nightmare is Waffles finding my picture somewhere online and putting it in sub 5 category in one of his videos." Okay, so that gives me the notion that he does these ranking tier style videos quite often, perhaps, on his channel. We're not subscribed. We'll see what it's like, but it looks like a bit of fun, a bit of light-hearted fun. So we are going to be criticizing men, and some men can be rather sensitive about their appearance. Who knows, maybe you and I are on this list potentially. I don't know where he might be sourcing his imagery from, but here we can see we've got what I'm assuming is his perception, and maybe he's just basing that on everyone's general perception of a 3, a 6, which I'm going to assume is a safe bet to say your average looking guy, and your 9, which is the perhaps top 5 percentile, maybe even top 1%. Without further ado, let's get the ball rolling.
I believe there are 3 tiers of men, and to test this theory, before starting the video, I want you to play this quick game.
Okay.
One by one, male faces are going to appear on the screen here, and you have to decide which category of attractiveness they fall into, either sub 5, normie, or Chad. There'll be 15 faces in total. So let's start. 1.
Okay, so if you didn't quite catch that, he's going to put up 15 faces. I'm assuming he's going to give us a couple of seconds to rate where the guy is going to fall into. So no offense intended to anyone here if your face is on here. We're just going to have some good innocent fun, try and objectively place guys in their category. I've already got a few things to speak about, but perhaps I'll save them at the very end when we've potentially got all of the 15 faces on screen. Alright, so if you want to play along, otherwise just click on the next chapter, and again, don't take offense. Who knows what faces we're going to see on here.
2.
Okay, so sub 5.
3.
Normie.
4.
Sub 5.
5.
Same.
6.
Chatter.
7.
Normie.
8.
Just on that, I don't want this to go too far ahead, otherwise I might lose my train of thought. But the dude that just came up then, so not the current one on screen with the glasses, the guy that just got put in the normie category, with some minor adjustments, with some better lighting, and then this is where things like your background, contrast, potentially if the photo was touched up, how many megapixels was the camera, the quality of the actual photo. So you've got the shadow coming up from underneath his face, you've got shadows on the side of his face. This is the guy that just got put in the normie category. Whereas I think if you gave him some better lighting, you made some minor tweaks, you could well and truly put him in the Chad category as well, with a slightly better picture. He sure does look lean and potentially athletic enough to be classified in the Chad category. There's nothing really untoward with his appearance. It's more so the quality of the photo and the lighting in it. Okay, so the guy with the glasses, I'm going to guess normie.
9.
Chad.
10.
Sub 5.
11.
Same.
12.
Normie.
13.
Chad.
14,
Normie.
and 15.
Chad. Right.
So, did you get all of them right? I could have carried on doing that all day.
We are glad you didn't. That would be rather homosexual. Not particularly the most comfortable thing, rating other men's attractiveness, but yeah, in a way, it is also a very realistic topic. So just having an honest perception, an honest realization of the men in the dating market. Having an honest perception, an honest view of yourself and where you might fall into it. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that.
I think when the categories are broken down as simple as this, it all just becomes so obvious. And this doesn't just apply to men, because here are the categories for women as well.
Okay, so I've already touched on the point that the style of photo, the way the photo was taken, okay, women know this better than most men. Angles, the importance of them. Angles can make for either a completely unattractive image or a rather appealing one, a flattering one. There's lighting, there's airbrushed, there's all these apps, and they've been around for quite a while, that don't just put out filters that let you adjust shapes and basically give yourself a Botox-like effect. So at the moment right now, even the lighting I got now, with the fact that I had a shower within the last 60 minutes and put moisturizer on my face, might potentially make my face look more rejuvenated, smoother, eliminate some finer lines and wrinkles than, say, as per usual, simply because of the lighting and what might have happened in the last 60 minutes. So don't be necessarily discouraged when you see a static image of yourself, i.e. what I'm saying is a photo, and you think, oh man, I'm just not photogenic, I'm completely unattractive. Like the point I was making about the dude that got slotted in the normie category, when he's not too far out in my eyes from being a Chad. And when I do look at the Chad category of the men's photos, I can see that their lighting, the exposure and contrast of the images, is straight up far superior. It's not on the same playing field as, say, the complete opposite of the sub 5s, which are done with just rather poor quality device, period. So you can even tell that the pixels in the image is rather low. There's a low resolution in the image. The photos are generally taken from underneath the chin, so it's not parallel to the face. It's coming up from underneath the face, and that already hinders the image's quality. Looking over at the women, okay, we'll look at the top tier Chad women. I would personally actually switch out the middle row far left with the top tier row far right. And again, it looks like the photos, at least some of them, have been done in a professional setting. That top tier far left looks like there's makeup too, mind you. So is the woman wearing makeup? Has she done herself up? And again, all those other similar things as to what I was saying about the men, the lighting, the camera used. Was it a professional photographer, or was it just your friend with an old iPhone 7 or an 8 where there's some After Effects applied, etc. And on that note too, give me middle of the road, according to this list anyway, woman, any day of the week, as long as our values, our intrinsic core fundamental principles align. I'm not talking about common interests, all right? Like what movies and music we both like. That doesn't matter. I've touched on this in other videos where having common interests isn't really important per se. But core values, if our core values align, give me a woman. I will even go as far as to say from the sub 5 list. If we share a common faith, common family values and principles, give me a woman from the sub 5 list any day, as opposed to some gold digging, bitchy, temperamental, overly emotional, unstable, top tier, aesthetic wise woman.
Again, fairly clean cut. Anyway, I'm going to explain the main content of the video now, which is breaking down exactly how I believe each distinct group interacts with all of the others within the dating market. And I do want to warn you, there will be a lot of generalizations being made here. So before you think of any criticisms, at least see through these next 2 minutes so I can completely get my points across. Anyway, my first analysis is 1. The guys at the top of the pyramid, the so-called Chads, they have complete control over the whole of the top tier and mid-tier women. A lot of these guys aren't settling down as they have an abundance of both one-night stand options and friends with benefits coming from these 2 tiers. I also want to point out that most of these options are sourced from online dating apps. If you haven't realised by now, it is these top 10 to 15% guys who are hoarding.
Bro's been boosting. He's paying top dollar. Look at all these matches. Got that purple thunderbolt next to just about everyone on the list, and a super like, which as far as I know you have to pay for those too. Bro's been boosting the hell out of this. He's probably spent thousands of dollars into it.
All the matches on Tinder. 2. For the women in these 2 tiers, especially the mid-tier, in return for what they're giving out, they are demanding relationships and commitment from these top tier guys. However, the majority of these men are choosing not to cooperate as they don't want to settle.
He's saying generalization, but I'll give you a generalization too. So the fact of the matter is that some of those women in that middle category, or generalizing whatever woman, say you're even watching this and you fairly rate yourself in that middle category, you might sincerely and honestly, wholeheartedly not find every single man in that Chad category attractive. I've known women that simply outright don't like black men, Asian men, Southeast Asian men, or simply put, they only like a certain type, say Eastern European man. And it doesn't matter if you fall into the Chad category. If you aren't it, if you aren't that, they are simply not attracted to you. Now I know some of you might be saying, well, that's just the outright lie. She's just coping, just justifying it. Hey, whatever. We can agree to disagree, but if you honestly think that women can't possess the capability to have those sort of preferences, I mean, there's no wonder. You can go to the advanced settings, and there are some women out there who straight up look for a guy who's over 6 foot. Some really specified, and it has to be 6'4" or above. There are some women who won't date guys from certain religions. We think Jewish women are going and dating Muslim men? I don't particularly believe that. Yeah, I suppose anything is possible, but there are preferences. And just because you're in the Chad category, or so you say perceive yourself to be in the Chad category, doesn't mean that you can pull every single chick from the middle of the road. I'd even say that there would be some, just because they're sub 5 and perhaps they aren't as genetically blessed, perhaps they just haven't been shown how to take the time, apply the makeup, the certain facial products, that they've sort of let themselves go a little bit, they've ended up in that sub 5 category. You best believe that there's some sub 5 girls and guys who simply won't be attracted to what others might perceive as top 10%, for whatever the reason may be. As I've even just said, give me a middle of the road, as he's put it here, normie girl any day of the week that I have aligning core values and beliefs with
anyone below their level. 3. A minor caveat to this though is a fair amount of the top tier guys are happy and okay with getting in a long-term relationship with the highest value women. 4.
Yeah, so he's calling it value. I can already see that this is the kind of video. I said we're going to have fun with it, so we'll have fun with it. I can't help but interject my reason and logic into these things, but yeah, okay, guys are, sure, Chad guys are targeting the Chad top 5% of women, but honestly, if you're a Chad guy, you are looking for more than her looks to get into a relationship. It's as simple as that. Other channels based kind of men all preach, all will say the same thing and agree with me here. G-Man, whose videos I've reacted to for the past couple of weeks, he will undoubtedly say the same thing. Once the thrill wears off, once that bedroom fun, as G-Man has put it, the sugar hit has worn off, for it to be any sort of long-lasting, fruitful relationship, well, there's just going to have to be more than the skin deep stuff. There really is. So again, it will come back to what's between the ears, what does she hold close to her chest. It will play a part in attractiveness as well, because you're not going to find some overly emotional, temperamental, even if she's attractive, you're not going to find her long-term attractive, because her behaviors will make her unattractive and unappealing, unenjoyable to simply be around.
The women in the middle's unremitting desire to lock down a Chad has a knock-on effect for the mid-tier average normie guys, because in order for a woman in the middle to maintain her availability, it means she has to temporarily friend zone any non-Chad guys that approach her, which again, if you haven't realised by now, friend zoning is effectively the woman wanting to keep you in the background as an orbiter in case she starts running out of time and thinks she may miss out on her plans of wanting to start a family, in which case she can simply pluck you from orbit whenever she feels necessary. 5.
So just on that note, being an orbiter, as a man you can do it to women too. This guy just showed us a screenshot a couple of minutes ago of 1,000 matches. He can keep women, so you as a man can keep women in the orbit zone too. She might have it in her head that you're one of her orbiters, alright? She's got a primary sight set on, we'll just say, a Chad, as per these images. And she speaks to you, you get in touch, maybe you even see each other once a week, once a fortnight, and she's got this strong notion that, alright, she's categorized you as a normie and a beta orbiter. But you're doing the same back at her. So whilst she's seeing you once, say, a fortnight, yeah, cool. You're also seeing her once a fortnight. But in between the time you saw her and then potentially the next fortnight to come, you might have seen 4, 5, 6, 7 different girls. One for every night of the week if you managed it. And you're still happy to go see this girl 13, 14 days later. She doesn't know. Yeah, you don't know who and how many guys she has in her orbit, so to speak. But guys can do that to women just as much. Potentially just as much anyway.
In the meantime, these normie tier men become desperate for the women who are rejecting them on their level, end up settling for the friend zone, for which they then become a source of emotional support, favours, and basically a shoulder to cry on.
Yes, don't be that guy, because generally speaking, there's some slight differences, I think, between actually being an orbiter, or what she might, like I've said, perceive you as one of her orbiters, and concrete, flat out, outright being friend zoned. So that's where the emotional support, the favors, being the shoulder to cry on. So now you're no longer just the orbiter, as Waffles here said, can be plucked. No, you are cemented in the friend zone, because now you are providing things for her. Providing emotional support is still a form of providing things for her. So favors, suppose use your imagination, but in brackets I would put favors as you are now going out of your way. So perhaps you are not doing something else, something that could have benefited you. So perhaps you didn't go to the gym that night because you did a favor for her, you did something for her, you went out of your way for her. Shoulder to cry on doesn't even have to actually physically be a shoulder to cry on. You're just there listening to her rant, responding to rampant amounts of text messages, and that can be not only emotional support, it can be emotionally draining to you, and you can waste hours sometimes of your time going back and forth responding to those sorts of messages. So you don't want to be that guy, but I also urge you to ask yourself what it is that you want out of this girl. So I've said this also in my other videos of, is the primary driving factor as to why you are accepting this kind of behavior. You're letting yourself be placed in that box, in that zone, in the friend zone. Are you simply staying in this girl's life, wanting her attention, her reciprocation, what you're investing into her? Do you want it back? Do you just want to sleep with her? Do you want something long-term and fruitful with her? Does she even know that you are interested in her, that you want to pursue something serious with her? Because it's important for you to have verbalized it, to let her know where you stand. Don't always expect women to be able to read your cues, which might not be that obvious in the first place. Does she even know that you are after a long-term relationship? Maybe she's completely oblivious to it, and you think that you've made it quite obvious by being the emotionally supportive guy that's constantly doing favors, running over to her house to fix her pipes, to service her car, or whatnot. But you've never really verbalized the fact that, hey, I want you. I want to take you out to dinner. I want to see if this can take off, if we can have something serious. I'm looking for something long term. Does she even know? Don't allow yourself to be friend zoned. Or, like I said, do you just simply want to sleep with her and you'd be happy to cut it off right there? That's all you actually want to experience. You don't particularly care about more.
6. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, market force, both normies and sub-5 guys ferociously simp over the top tier women. And in return, these women give a grand total of nothing back. Because after all, that is the very definition of simping.
Quite frankly speaking, I don't think the top tier women even allow the so-called sub-5 men to be able to simp. Unless it's, well, now, yeah, new age, sure. I stand corrected. Twitch and OnlyFans, because you are actually financially funding them. So yes, that is a form of simping. But I was going to say, of years past, before the introduction of your Twitches and your OnlyFans, those women will simply not give you the time of day. So how it says here, nothing, with the arrows pointing to the middle tier and the sub-5 tier. Yeah, because they simply could give nothing. They couldn't get close enough. They couldn't even place themselves in a position to be placed in the orbiter friend zone. those women simply wouldn't look at them twice, wouldn't have a bar of them. They stood no chance. So yeah, with the introduction of all these platforms where just about every single woman on earth can be a sex worker, it's allowed for those men to be siphoned of their resources and directed to those, and I wouldn't even say necessarily top tier women. I beg to argue that your sub 5 woman can put a little bit of effort, hypersexualize herself, which will in turn place her in the normie category, and a normie woman has pretty high potential to potentially attract quite a lot of customers on OnlyFans. So if you haven't checked it out already, my OnlyFans girl contacted me video, that girl in question was definitely not the Chad female equivalent. She was a normie. Yeah, if she was in these photos here, she would be a normie. And I said in that video that she had over 10,000 OnlyFans followers.
A man mindlessly wasting his energy and resources on a woman for absolutely nothing in return that will benefit him. 7.
Yeah, so even if she's a top 1%, he just said mindlessly wasting your resources. Don't mindlessly waste your resources on any woman, period. Even the most attractive that you believe that you've ever come across and potentially will ever come across. Because first of all, women won't find that behavior in you attractive, and secondly of all, that sort of behavior should strictly be reserved to, at the very least, not someone that you're in a relationship with. Keyword, monogamous relationship with. Alright, if you're in some kind of bullshit open polyamorous relationship, alright, her undivided fealty, loyalty, love, respect isn't given to you. So unless you are in a monogamous relationship, do not fund any aspect of this woman's lifestyle. I stand mildly corrected. It's okay to potentially buy a woman a coffee, something as a small gesture, especially if she went quite a distance to meet you. So you arrange something that's close to home for you, and she traveled like 30-40 minutes. It's a small thing, all right? I'm not saying absolutely nothing, but I just want to reassure that I'm not saying don't spend ever a dime, never ever ever, unless you're in a monogamous relationship, buy a woman so much as a bottle of water if she's dehydrated to the point of death. That's where I just wanted to say, not necessarily completely nothing, but I think you get the point now that I'm trying to make. Don't fund a woman's lifestyle habits, don't fund her choices, don't lose sleep over it, don't go out of your way and sacrifice things that are important to your day-to-day life for a woman, especially a woman that you aren't in a monogamous, serious relationship with.
A surprisingly large number of the normie tier guys, out of pure desperation, lower themselves to trying with the women at the very bottom for one night stands and casual intimacy. And the only reason they do this is because they've ruthlessly tried everywhere else and got no results.
Ruthlessly.
8. These low tier women in response become resentful of average guys for not wanting to commit to them. 9. I find this one the most hilarious.
Well, maybe the issue here is he keeps saying the men are looking for one night stands. He drew that one line from the Chads to the Chad women that said relationships, but otherwise he just kept saying one night stands, and in that same category of men, the normie category of men, he drew a line to the lower category of women saying that, well, they're lowering standards for one night stands, and those women are resentful not because they're not getting the normie man for sex, they're resentful because they're not then getting the normie man to commit to a relationship. Now, I think that's pretty false in my experience too. Just go down to the beach on a rather nice day, on a warm day. You will see a bunch of what you could class as normie men, even sub-5 men at the beach. And you'll have your sub-5 men with normie women. You'll have your sub-5 men with sub-5 women. You'll have your normie men with your sub-5 women. You can have a mixed bag. But as he's saying, this is rather generalized, but the reason I'm speaking for so long is that I don't want you to think that the sun has set on your day, that you've got absolutely no chance. And I think this is over generalized as well, that no normie men will commit to relationships with sub-5 women. I think you will find that quite a lot of men who are grounded as well in their beliefs. Another example I can give you is the sub-5 girl. Not only do all your values align, but say she's significantly younger. She might be 5, 6, 7 years younger, as opposed to that Chad woman who might be, say, in her late 20s, just hit 30. Yeah, sure, she's great looking, or she's even in her mid 20s, great looking. You know what? She's got a damn kid, if not a couple. So aesthetically, going by a static image, she might be a Chad in the eyes of, say, society, but there's a kid involved. I know which one I'd rather be taking for a long-term relationship. If that's what it came down to, I had to choose black or white, this or that.
Women of all levels give the same treatment to sub-5 men, which is emotional reactions of disgust, pity and abhorrence if any of these guys interact with their lives in any way, shape or form. It's gone as far as where sub-5 men don't even get the luxury of being friend-zoned. Sub-5s are being outcast altogether.
I wholeheartedly disagree. I don't think that if you're a sub-5 man, outright every single woman finds you disgusting. Couldn't be further from the truth. Again, we're strictly speaking about aesthetics, your looks. To say that every single woman is looks-wise repulsed by you, that you are disgusting, that you can't even be friend-zoned, an orbiter. I've been friends with, I know guys that are not particularly attractive. They're at the very least, I'm not going to call it luxury, but at the very least that they're placed in that friend zone. All right, they're orbiting 1 or 2 women in their lives.
And finally, 10. The only alternative for these bottom tier guys, which again is the same for all 3 tiers of women,
pay for it.
is pathetically beta buxing to try grab hold of whatever they can get. For these guys, it's either that, moving abroad, having a miracle looks transformation, or living in a basement forever playing video.
I think the majority of men, and when I say majority, I say, yeah, 60% or more, generally take what they can get. So if you're a man and you sit there on, say, a dating app like Tinder, and you are intricately looking through profiles, every single photo on the profile, reading every single bio before you swipe, well, I think you automatically disqualify yourself from a Chad category just inherently in that sort of behavior. Where he's saying here, you move abroad for women, playing games all day, beta buxing. I actually haven't heard of that expression before, beta buxing, but just coming back to take what you can get. I think a lot of guys will fall into that category, but also what is it that you want to get? So I keep harping on about that point, but you have to know what you're after. You have to have that conversation with yourself of what's important to you. What is it that you want from this? Do you just want the one night stand, or are you after something fruitful and meaningful moving forward?
Video games all day. Anyway, this is my breakdown of what I believe to be how each group interacts with one another within the dating market. If you think I've left anything out or you have any disagreements, now is a good time to leave a comment with your thoughts before I move on to the next part of the video. Now moving on to
I want to see that graph again. So the only way a Chad will ever have a one night stand with a sub 5 woman is by having a one night stand with a normie woman. That's his only way down the ladder, you could say. And then from there you meet and have a friendship. You get introduced to one of her friend-zoned orbit of guy friends, and then you have to take the back roads from resentment into one night stands. That might have not made any sense, but yeah, this guy's saying that Chad guys will never have one night stands or relationships with sub 5 women, and apparently Chad guys will never have relationships, only one night stands with normie women. What about for the okay, yeah, for the top tier women, it's only the Chad guys. Yeah, like I said, I would interchange the far left of the normie with the far right of the Chad women. I actually find her significantly more attractive. It's just not a flattering static image, I think, because she's not making eye contact with the camera lens as well, which isn't doing her any favors. If
you think I've left anything out or you have any disagreements, now is a good time to leave a comment with your thoughts before I move on to the next part of the video. Now moving on to answering the actual video title, which is how to know which category you fall into, sub 5, normie or Chad. Well, besides looking in the mirror, in my opinion, the number one way to tell which category you are in...
You know, just on that note, you ever wondered why you look better when you look at yourself in the mirror as opposed to when someone snaps a picture of you? Comes back in part to what I was saying about a photo is a static image of you, whereas when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's dynamic. So you don't just get a static glimpse. You're constantly rearranging your face, rearranging the angle you're looking at yourself from. There's those minor changes. Whereas also in gyms, how you got those full-size mirrors, you've got downlighting in gyms, so the light comes from over you. It doesn't cast a shadow from underneath, which generally highlights your assets, so attractive features on your face, on your body overall.
Is how women...
So keep that in mind, by the way. When people see you, when people view you, they don't view you statically. They view you in a dynamic context. So on dating profiles, obviously, yes, they're looking at you as a static image of you. But day to day, when you meet people, when you as a guy meet women, they see you in that dynamic form. So then stuff like facial expressions and mannerisms, body language, what you're wearing, how you smell, your breath. Do you have bad breath? Do you have good breath? Do you have a pleasant cologne, pleasant scent on? All that then plays into your perceived level of attractiveness.
And react and respond to your behaviour and presence. When you was at school, if you were the guy that every girl gossiped about, that all the girls had a crush on, you were a Chad. If you were...
That's such a load of shit. All due respect, that is a load of shit. I've never seen a woman with that kind of a face. Maybe that's some kind of teen dream soy face that girls pull, but no woman is going to be pulling that face unless she's inebriated, or you're really doing something just outright. You're not going to walk into a room, even as a chat, and expect for a chick to pull that kind of face. I'd be pretty happy to settle on the normie face. It's a pretty pleasant face. It shows that she's receptive to you, and it is rather middle of the road. You don't know if she's particularly sexually attracted to you, but at least you know that she's receptive to you, that she's welcoming to you, that she's happy to, say, engage in a conversation with you. She's not repulsed by your presence. But on that note, and how he's using high school as an example, the amount of times girls will pull the sub 5 face to the guys she likes. And what are you anyway? You can't be a Chad when you're like 17 years old. It's pretty much as old as you can be in high school. Maybe you just turned 18, and if we're talking primary school, dude, you only like learned to walk 10 years ago. Even if you're a year 6 in primary school. I think it's called something else, and it's like, what is it, junior high or something in the States. But yeah, primary school, you're like 12 years old at the maximum. So don't even get me started that you're a normie or you're a Chad. All right, you're a fucking kid.
The guy who is also gossiped about by girls, but for the wrong reasons, for being a creep or a weirdo, you are probably a sub 5 or just really socially inept. Anyway, for the guys on either extreme, the treatment they receive is easy to evaluate. But how about normies? At first, the answer may seem a little hard to identify, but I think I have a clean-cut answer to determine exactly if you're a normie. And again, it's based on how a group of girls will react to you. You will know you're a normie if out of a small group of girls, there'll be maybe 1, at most 2, that find you attractive. Meanwhile,
hey, go shoot your shot, normie. That one on the far right here, good looking girl. You know what though, the other 2 might actually be busy, because it looks like they're looking down at some kind of a document. Maybe they're discussing something of importance, work related, or maybe they just didn't see that you, Mr. Normie, Mr. Chad, are walking past. Alright, just because you're a good looking guy, don't expect every single fucking woman to get weak at the knees and gasp at the sight of you. How overly inflated do you want to have your fucking ego? Seriously.
all of the others will have a complete lack of interest towards you. How about some examples? Well, I've seen this play out in real life countless times. Whenever I hear girls argue about whether a guy is attractive or not, the guy in question is nearly always just some mid to high tier normie, and he'll usually have...
Unless it's some kind of college party, some kind of house party, I've never seen this. This doesn't happen in nightclubs, which I've got over 5 years of experience in. Two girls bickering, let's just say arguing, he's hot, nah, and what, the guy's there in the background, what's that, about 1 meter, 2 meters at the most away? Watching that unfold right before his eyes. Normie or chat, I've never seen it. Women outright having some kind of debate with one another of a guy's attractiveness right in front of the guy. Never seen it.
Have some niche quality about him that sets him apart from other plain basic normies. This might be curly hair, a slightly geeky appearance, or a gym obsession. And maybe I'll elaborate on this point about niche markets in a future video, because I myself have red hair, so I've actually found to be at the centre of these debates of attractiveness that...
He says niche, but in my experience you're either one of the two. You're either a gym bro, a pretty frequent gym goer, or you are the geeky guy. Yeah, you're generally one of the two. I'm not quite sure it necessarily classifies as a niche quality. And what exactly is gym obsessed here? Okay, some girls might actually say that you're gym obsessed if you go to the gym 5 times a week. Now, I would personally view that as a rather normal behavior. If you have the time to exercise 5 days a week, is not per se obsessive behavior. In my mind, at least, it's not. If you've got the time, taking 60 to 90 minutes to better yourself, to preserve your strength, to get out of the house and exert yourself physically, does in no way, shape or form class you as a gym obsessed gym bro. Nor does, say, pursuing something, excellence in some kind of IT field, something technology based or literature based, being book smart, being interested in a plethora of things that would classify you as otherwise geeky to men and women alike. Now, I don't think that that's also necessarily a quality that I would put as just for a straight outright geek. Okay, having interests and having passions and pursuing those things can be geeky to some, but more power to you, I say.
Groups of girls have. Anyway, going back to the main point, this normie treatment contrasts the other 2 tiers, because for any guy who is a Chad, there is no argument to be made. The consensus among any group of girls will be unanimous.
I've made quite a few arguments.
They all agree the Chad is highly attractive.
We disagree, and there are women out there that will disagree as well. As I've said, some women will simply not find you sexually attractive, no matter what you do.
Actually, you might get one bitter girl who starts coping and deludes herself into thinking she doesn't like him, but in reality, we all know she'll only say this because she knows herself the guy is well out of her reach. Meanwhile, for the guy on the opposite end, the sub 5, again, all the girls will be in agreement. They will all collectively agree that he's creepy and undateable. Once more, no arguments to be made.
The way this video's made it out as if you're a Chad, you have the pick of the bunch. It doesn't matter about anything else. You could be dumb as a red brick shithouse, but aesthetically you're a Chad. You can get any woman, and simply the ones that aren't attracted to you, the ones that don't want to borrow you, are living in delusion. They're coping. And if you're a sub 5 guy, which, well, he's using the number 5, sub 5, so you're what, 45% of men? Everyone is just giving you the emperor's thumbs down. You're due for execution. It's a unanimous agreement, and there are no arguments. We find you repulsive. That couldn't be further from the fucking truth. The amount of unattractive, aesthetically speaking, men out there, whether it's due to factors that they can't control or factors that they actually can control, they could potentially be in a Chad category, at the very least in a normie category, but they've let themselves go. They're fucking 30 plus kilos overweight. They smoke a pack a day. They got yellow teeth. They got yellow nails. They got chronic bad breath. They constantly smell like fucking smoke. They don't look after themselves. And those men have families, potentially have girlfriends, are in some form of some type of relationship. Like I said, just go down to the beach on a rather nice day here in Australia. You will see pretty unattractive guys with women. So this video, I find, is rather delusional in saying that you're a sub 5 man, that's it. It's unanimous on you that absolutely no one is going to find you attractive. And perhaps if they do, they've just settled. And you know what? If you're aesthetically pleasing, every woman is just bound to give you the green light. It's a thumbs up. And you know that she's only coping when she say rejected you, when she's not interested in you. Say you're interested in her, she's turned you down. She must have done that because she's coping. She knows she's out of my league. We can agree to disagree, but there's a bunch of Eastern European women that will simply not be attracted to men from Africa, men from Asia. And it's not a cope. It's just outright a factual thing. There's too many cultural differences per se for the woman in question to, and I'm not having a go here at Africans, it's just a reality. There's plenty of black women too, I'm sure, that would simply not be attracted to white men. I'm sure they exist.
Therefore, the unique situation of differing opinions only occurs for the guys in the middle. They are in the most flexible zone in terms of their perceived attractiveness. There's significantly more subjectivity at play for the guys in the middle than either of the guys at the very top or bottom. Some girls will find a given normie date-worthy, other girls won't. And for this reason, this is exactly why I see so many normies out there that are completely clueless about where they actually stand and their true attractiveness. Half the time they get blinded by their own confirmation bias that because one or two girls over the course of a year has found them attractive, they then delude themselves into thinking they're an alpha male. Meanwhile, the other half of the time they realise at best they get 2 to 3 matches a week on Tinder, none of whom even respond to his opening message, and then the guy concludes he's unattractive. When in reality, in simple words as possible,
Okay, so if you rate yourself an alpha male, chances are you aren't. If you actually have to sit there and have a conversation with yourself, do I rank in the alpha male category? Especially if you're basing that kind of question around the fact that you got a match on, say, Tinder, and you think, okay, well, that match means I'm attractive, so therefore I fall into the alpha male category. Simply put, alpha males are men of self-worth, belief and confidence. Don't ask themselves these type of questions, and on the other side of the spectrum, they don't have this kind of negative self-talk with themselves of, well, I got no matches, therefore I'm ugly. I think on that note, I'll let the video play out, but my final thoughts are, this was very generalized, for the most part incorrectly to my opinion, especially there at the end where we sort of deciphered that Waffles, the channel, his views are that sub 5 men stand no chance with just about anyone, right? It's always a thumbs down, and good looking guys can get their foot in the door with just about any woman that they come across, any woman that they potentially pursue. On that note, yes, you can only work with what you've really got. Some guys are more genetically blessed than others, but that being said, you can't take steps to better yourself every single day. I'm not going to now go on a lengthy tangent about the sort of things that you should do, but you have to really ask yourself, am I taking my best foot forward? So something like eliminating those bad habits of, say, smoking, which doesn't make you attractive. Okay, there's no smokers out there that smell great, that have great nice white teeth. You can't be a smoker, you can't have the best of both worlds really. And are you just getting out of bed and that's it, you just start your day like that? Or are you taking a little bit of time? Are you shaving your facial hair? Are you styling your hair? How often do you wash your hair? Do you have decent deodorant, decent applicable cologne? Okay, what kind of clothes are you wearing? Are you wearing some old, washed out, overly baggy neon t-shirts with those graphics, some kind of emotes that you should really save for the children that were really popular in the early 2000s? Or are you maybe going the extra mile, the extra step? You have a nice shirt on, okay, you've iron the shirt so it's not full of creases. It's got a collar. Collars help frame your face so you look presentable. You've taken some steps to try and put your best foot forward. Also, how well spoken are you? What kind of mannerisms do you present? Do you make eye contact with, say, the woman in question when you're speaking to her? What kind of body language are you radiating, presenting to her? Overall, what's your energy like? Are you assured? Are you confident? Assertive? Or are you a little bit timid? Perhaps shy? Nervous? All that plays into your attractiveness as well in real life scenarios. So on that note, I think that's it from me. We'll let the video play for about another 45 seconds. I hope you enjoyed. I did say it was going to be a bit of light-hearted fun, but I really also don't want those that do take the time to watch my videos to listen to this rather bogus advice and think that, okay, I'm rather good looking so I can get anyone, and well, I'm not that attractive and I can't do anything about it to improve, and well, I'm not that attractive, so unfortunately no women want me. No, that's not true at all.
Should be obvious you're a normie if few women, very few women, say 2 to 5%, find you attractive enough to consider dating. So for me, I know I'm a normie. I've never tried to deny it or say otherwise. I know most girls won't date me. They just don't find me that attractive. But I also know there will always be a small minority of girls out there who finds me attractive. And in my experience, whenever I focused on those girls, the process has always been so smooth, so easy, no headaches, and I've almost never found myself in a position where I'm having to read signals or overanalyze texts. Anyway, if you like this video, be sure to check out part 1 and check out my Fiverr page where I offer face ratings. Links to both will be in the description.
Wow, he wants $5. Yeah, you be the judge of that. That's fucking a bit weird, huh? What kind of a guy is gonna pay this self-proclaimed normie $5 to have his face rated? If you're all about that, check this guy's channel out. I've pretty much summed up all my thoughts already. Thank you for being here. Stop doubting yourself and take the steps that you're capable of taking to better yourself every single day. Thank you.